entrepreneurs, are you feeling like your marketing efforts are less effective despite the greater efficiency that you're doing, right? Are you frustrated with traditional outbound and inbound strategies that aren't delivering? Struggling with visibility, engagement while obscurity threatens your business? Well, the key isn't another funnel, but it is one powerful conversation. So get ready to transform your marketing perspective with my guest, Tom Schwab, who's the founder of Interview Valet and the author of Podcast Guest Profits. This episode is going to shake your view on marketing forever. Hey entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Riner, known as the Profit Booster, and I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something special to share with you. If you ever wanted to supercharge your business and avoid those profit plateaus, maybe those operational headaches or growth roadblocks, well, I've created a brand new Profit Booster playbook just for you. You'll uncover 3 essential strategies and a quick way to take action on them. Now, this is not just a single-page report. It's filled with impactful strategies, actionable steps, and expert guidance to elevate your profits. Go download this free playbook at boostingprofit.com. All right, my guest today is Tom Schwab. And if you'd ever noticed that your marketing is getting more efficient at things but are less effective, well, the rules are changing to cripple small and medium-sized businesses. That's us, folks. Maybe it's time to look at your marketing from a new view. Maybe you're not just one funnel away, as some say, but one conversation away. And that's the view of our guest, Tom Schwab. Tom is known as the godfather of podcast interview marketing. His book, Podcast Guest Profits: How to Grow Your Business with a Targeted Interview Strategy, has been called the Bible of podcast guesting. He's a frequent speaker and founder of the Interview Valet, the leading podcast interview marketing agency as a decade ago. So get ready to have your view of future marketing shaken forever. All right, Tom, thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you on today.
Marcia, I am thrilled to be here, and I love how you focus on profit, right?
Oh,
None of us just want more leads, right? We want more profits because that means that we're adding value to the market. When we've got our ideal customers that love us and value what we do. And we're going to talk about how podcast interview marketing can help you do that.
excellent, excellent. Okay, so I love to always ask, how we came into this kind of space, but what got you into podcast marketing and doing interviews?
Well, you just have to look in the rearview mirror, right? Nothing is revolutionary, it's evolutionary. So I'm an engineer by degree. My first job out of college was running nuclear power plants in the Navy. So it taught me systems and processes. I built my own business, worked for a Fortune 100 company. And one of the things that I built my last company from a regional player to a national leader and sold it was with inbound marketing, right?
Mm,
And built the entire thing up with guest blogs, tapping into other people's audiences.
I love
And so
it.
when we sold that company back in 2014, I had some people ask, well, how did you do it? And by that time, the blogs weren't working. And I hypothesized, Marcia, that you could use podcast interviews to tap in, get that know, like, and trust. So
Mm.
we tested it. It worked really well. Told people how to do it. And they said, I just want to be the guest. You take care of the rest. So we beta tested an agency, a done for you, and one of our beta testers actually bought the name Interview Valet and gave it to me and said, "This is what you need to call it." And so for the first few years, I'd give my elevator pitch and people would go, "What's a podcast?" But it allowed us to come up with the systems, the processes, and really when it started to take off about 2019, along with podcasting, and now it's understood to be a incredibly effective marketing channel, especially for people that are doing relationship sales, services, not just products. And so now we've grown to a point where we've got 22 people on the team. My microphone makes me sound good, but my team makes me look good.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And funny enough, that's when I started this podcast was January of 2019 because my mentor said, "Oh, you need to be doing podcasts."
Yeah.
And I have to say my first podcasts were like, oh my gosh, horrific. I was like, "Hi, welcome to," and my girlfriend goes, "Who the heck is that?" So it's evolved, thank goodness, into where we are today with great conversations. But what a fantastic platform that I found that I can sit on and have a voice, meet different audiences, bring on fantastic guests that add tremendous value, like yourself, and use it as a marketing tool. Who
And
would have thought?
and we're talking here in 2024, right?
Right.
Somebody's going to be listening to this 5 years from now, but it's gotten more and more powerful. And while AI is commoditizing other forms of content,
Mhm.
it has made podcasts even more powerful.
Yeah.
Because think about it now, as you get an email or you get a blog, your first thought is, this is AI.
Right.
Even the search engines are doing that. They assume that everybody is, created with Chat GPT until proven otherwise. And so what we're doing with these conversation, the collaborative content, people know it's human. They're hearing different voices. They're hearing people talk over each other. And it's not the generic what everybody knows that can be found on a Google search or Chat GPT. These are new ideas. This is what the future is going to be. And that's why podcast interviews and this collaborative content is so, so powerful today.
Ah, I love it. You are so refreshing to hear this concept because, I mean, I've been standing on the platform for a while and I like it and I feel really comfortable on it. But I know that there are business owners out there that aren't really thinking of that as a tool. And I would never recommend, like you said, to go out and create your own podcast and bring on guests and production and costs and
It,
expenses because it's some work. But I love the idea that you just show up normally on Zoom. And years ago, you had to go into a studio, but now you just show up on Zoom. You can have your jammy bottoms or shorts on and a nice shirt, right? Very inexpensive equipment. And now you're ready to go.
yes. And
And I love it.
it's no longer that the loudest or the one with the biggest marketing budget gets heard, right? The
Mhm.
days of, I call them the carnival barkers, right? Where they just yelled louder and more often than other people and they got heard. Well, that actually works against you
Mhm.
today because people just turn that off. It's just
Right.
noise and they don't want to hear it. The people that are thoughtful, the people that are experts, the people that want to add value to their community. They want to educate. Those are the people that are having the best sales today, right? The whole world has changed on that.
Mhm.
Gary Vaynerchuk talks about give or no, it's a jab, 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 right hook, right? And I always look at it today as, give, 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 ask, right? Give this value, give your insights, give free resources. And people will be asking how to get in touch with you. And, I pull my hair out when I hear people say, you're only one funnel away. You ever notice the people that are saying that are the ones that are selling you the funnels? And I think everybody in our heart knows they don't work. Well, at least they don't work for services. They don't work for big ticket sales, right? If they did, McKinsey Consulting would grow their business off of Facebook ads or funnels, right? Boeing would grow their business off of Facebook ads and funnels. Now it's all about conversations.
I
And I think
agree.
that's one of those things where whether or not you're a solopreneur or you're a brand and a company, you can use podcast interviews to really have those conversations and have them at scale, like you said, from wherever you are.
I love it. And I think that's it because when we're trying to develop relationships with our ideal customers and whether you're selling products or services, it's still the same thing, but a little bit more heavier in the services industry is you need to have conversations and move people through a buyer's journey, right? You know that pyramid that's out there that says only the top 1 to 3% are ready to buy and throw a credit card at your face right now. The rest of them are journeyed, right? They're trying to figure out, do I have a problem? Do I know about a solution? Do I know about somebody that provides the solution? Am I ready to buy today? You know, they're going through this journey of trying to figure out what's the next thing they're doing, or shopping from their couch late at night or on Sunday morning in their jammies with their coffee. This is a fantastic way to introduce your concept, to nurture kind of questions and ideas that maybe your audience is already asking in their head. And you pop up as this expert because you are showcased on a podcast. What
Marcia,
better way?
you are so right. And wherever you are in that pyramid, right? There's maybe 3% of the people that are ready to buy. But the other 90% probably know that 3%. And let me give you an example. Early on, we've been doing this for a decade. We worked with a company that was focused on first-time parents, right?
Mm,
Before birth, right? So what is that window of opportunity there? Probably
9 months.
7 months, 9 months.
9
Well,
months.
if they knew from day one, so maybe 8 months, right? And
Okay.
so you look at that and you say, there's so many people are like, oh, I wish I would have known about that. How do you target that that audience? Well, what was so helpful is that that audience knows people like them. So
Mm,
one of the calls to action at the end of the podcast interview is, if you know anybody that is going through this problem, could you share this podcast with them? And, if I said this from the stage of an event, they'd have to remember what I said, try to resell it. Whereas with a podcast interview, you can just go, Marcia, I was listening to this podcast and I thought of you and that discussion we had the other day. Go to minute 14. That's where the good stuff is. Now you've got people that are referring you and giving the content there. And that is so, so powerful. And at that point, and people will say, well, couldn't I just send out a million emails? Yeah, you could, but we're getting more efficient at things that are less effective. I'd rather have one ideal customer that's coming in than a million, not a million, but I'll say a million of these cold leads because you've got to kiss a whole lot of frogs in order to get that customer. And it's expensive, right? There are people that'll say, "Oh yeah, send out all these emails and then hire 3 sales development reps to go through all of those." It's like, no, let me get on
well,
the podcast and talk to people.
here's something else that you just really resonated with me with. All of these other marketing ploys, right? The funnel, the email campaigns, social posting, telephone calls, whatever that method is, that goes away almost instantly. It doesn't last forever. Where if you've got a recording and it could be repurposed and reused if you put it on, the largest search engine behind Google, which is YouTube.
YouTube.
It lasts forever. It's searchable forever, and it doesn't require that you have to respend money on ads or resend out another email or pick up the phone another time. It's there forever.
That is an amazing point because it's sometimes I think of paid ads and paid search is like a drug, right? You get
Crack.
it. You get that little hit, but every time it goes away, and it almost
Mhm.
becomes addictive where if you want to keep the business going on there, you're going to have to keep buying more and more. And as you see with all these marketing channels, they're not working nearly as well. So you've got to spend more. And like you said, if you go and take a week off, the phone's going to stop ringing. Whereas with a
Exactly.
podcast interview, I don't know if it's evergreen, but it's like a can of soup. It's good for 3 to 5 years. We've gotten clients from a podcast that was the record now is like 5 years old, and they
Wow.
started talking about what they heard me talk about, and I had to think, what was that show? Right? It
When
was
was
so
that
long
show?
ago,
Did I look
but
good?
well, they noticed. They're like, "Oh, you have a beard," and I was like, "I've had a beard for about 4 years."
That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, I love the idea of this platform. So, okay, listeners, if you haven't guessed, we're both huge fans of podcasting. So now with podcasting and we've made our statement, we've stepped up on our soapbox and we've shared with the world the value of podcasting. How does somebody get into podcasting? How does the everyday business owner put their foot and dip into the pool?
And you made this point early. Sometimes people will say, should I be a guest or a host? Right. And it's like, well, it's like Uber. Should I be a driver or passenger? It depends on your goals. So being a host is a great way to nurture your current leads, nurture your current customers, but just be aware it takes a lot of work and it's a long time. It's a long play, a long
It's a long
commitment on
journey.
there.
Yes.
Yes. Whereas being a guest is the way to tap into new audiences, get that new like, know, like, and trust. And I think of sometimes, do you want to throw the party or do you want to be invited to the party?
I
Right.
like that.
Do
That's a
you,
fantastic one. Yes.
yeah. And, do you want to do a live event? You can do that. It's a lot of work and a lot of risk. Or do you want to get invited to speak at the live event? So
Mhm.
if you want a guest, first think about what are your goals for this, right? Just guesting, that's an ego thing. But what are you trying to get out of it? Is
Yeah.
it is it to launch a book? Is it to get more SEO backlinks? It's to launch a public speaking career. Could it be for to build your list either on email or social media? It could be for that brand recognition, right? I can remember a client came to us and this guy is a high level cybersecurity expert. And I said, "What are your goals for being on podcasts?" And he said, "I want to grow my stature. I want to grow my brand authority, and I want to get twice as many leads in." And I
Mm.
said, "Okay, so you want to double your business or double your number of clients?" And he's like, "No." He says, "I want to be able to be more choosy on my clients. I want to
Ooh.
pick the ones that I can bring the most value to because I can more than double my profits there without taking any more on." So
Mm.
really it's what you want to do with that. So
And I think
start with the why.
having that crystal clear reason gives a better makes for a better performance too, right? Because then you know what you're going to talk about, you know what you're going to offer at the end, and then you know everything that you're going to do before and afterwards.
Yes, I heard one of our clients talked about before you buy advertising, you come up with a plan, right?
Mhm.
Who do I want to talk to? What do I want them to do? What does success look like? You wouldn't just say, "Oh, I'm going to go buy an advertisement in some magazine." Which one? I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? You'd never do that. So really start with the end in mind. And it is a marketing channel there.
I
Think of
love it.
how think of how you could repurpose the content, right? I'm not a writer naturally. So it's very easy for me to create here when we're talking and repurpose that into blogs, into posts, into reels. You can get a month's worth of content from every podcast interview.
Do you realize that Profit with a Plan is the name of the podcast, right? I
Well,
love it. I love it. It's just, we're on the same lane here, which is fantastic. But I love it because what you just dropped, the biggest bomb is this is not just one and done. This is one and clips and blog posts and marketing pieces and authority drivers and website SEO backlinks and, all these pieces from 1 hour or half-hour time slot that you invested on somebody else's show.
Yeah, well, I've had somebody came to me and they said, "I wanna be on 100 podcasts this month." And I said, "Well, why?" "Oh, because that'll be massive exposure." I'm like, "So is streaking, right? It won't help your business." We tell our clients, don't do more podcasts, right? More is not better. Better is better. So do
Right.
better podcasts. Do more with the podcast, right? You can
Yeah.
repurpose it. And if you're doing podcast interview marketing for years and years, you're doing it wrong, right?
Mm,
You should have enough of a base there that it's building upon itself. And you should have the data to say, these are the podcasts that are home runs and these are the ones that are base hits. So you're always learning. And like you said, it's evergreen. So once that base is built up there, it's going to help your SEO search or the chat GPT and the artificial learning. That's what they're learning from right now. They're learning from the podcast. Who's out there talking? So if
exactly.
you come up with that and get that base, you will be the authority.
Well, and I think that your conversation changes throughout your career, right? So your conversation in 2024 might be different or evolved in 2025, where you're on a different conversation because your clients have now, consumed this piece for you, and the next logical evolution of your business is could be different in 2026.
Yes.
So it's not saying podcasting, you do it once, you build up and you're all done. But I mean, thinking about the conversation you're on, and I love the idea that more is not better. I'm in a podcasting organization that I get leads from and introductions from for guests and for me to be on other shows. And I see certain guests that really just they've gone out and they've just thrown up all over the the space, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want you. I want somebody who hasn't necessarily been on as often. If you were just on 3 shows, then your audience might not want to listen to you a fourth time, right?
And if they're saying the same thing over and over and over,
Exactly.
right? People
Exactly.
won't want to listen to you and you'll get tired of it also. You won't be able to promote it because your list, your followers will be like, it's the
I'm
same
done.
thing again. But
I'm done.
if you can come up with different topics that are timely but timeless, you can come up with a month's worth of content and it can be the fuel for your entire content engine.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so now we've talked about the value and benefits of being on the show. What would someone do to kind of prepare for it? Because I know when I receive certain guest requests, there are those that I look at, and then there are those that I don't, and they could be a fantastic conversationalist with a great topic. But if I have to go and jump through burning hoops, I'm not gonna do that. Right? So what are some of the things the guests can do to get on podcasts?
Yeah. First of all, remember you're a guest, right? There's something about being a gracious guest or a demanding diva. Demanding divas don't get invited, right?
Mm,
So be gracious. And I always say give, 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 ask.
yeah.
So give a rating and review. Listen to the podcast. Podcast hosts, we listen for our own name, right? Share it on social media. Make a comment. Then when you reach out, you can say, I listened to this show. I really enjoyed this. I believe that I could add value to your audience, right? And this is how I'd like to do it.
That's the
No,
piece. This is
yes,
how I'd like to do it. Give me an idea of what you want to talk about and the talking points, right? Don't make me search for you and hunt you down.
yes. Don't make me connect the dots. If you come to this show and you're like, I want to talk about digital marketing. Well, that seems pretty wide. And how does this help my audience? Well, in some ways, almost give them the title for the episode.
Yeah.
Because if it's interesting to the title to get people to listen, it'd probably be interesting to the host. Another thing we've learned over a decade is give people interview topics, give them
Yes.
different things to. that they could talk about. Don't give them interview questions. That's insulting, right? If I said, Marcia, so nice to meet you. Here, ask me these questions. It's not a good conversation. And you hear
Yeah.
some people do it and they do it in order. And it feels so robotic. It's not even an interesting conversation.
Exactly. And it's like I've been in situations where they ask me a question that I just answered. And I'm like, "Were you not listening? Or were you just waiting to ask me the next question?"
Exactly. It should be, and I don't even like the word interview. I know
Mm.
we say interview valet, but it's not an interview. It's a discussion.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is great. Okay, so when we're doing this and you've given some really great tips here on how to get on the shows and what to say and how to fluff up the host a little bit by definitely giving a rating and commenting on it and saying that you've listened to some of the shows so you know what it's like before you even get on. What are some of the tools that the guests can use when they're on the podcast to now bring the audience into their circle or sphere?
And sometimes forget that it's a podcast. Just think about it being a conversation, right? How to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
Use the host's name, use the podcast name, right? The host is the micro influencer. You joined this podcast here because you like Marcia, right? You like the format, all the rest of this. And so remember that and support that. Your job on a podcast is to make the host look like a genius for having you.
Thank
Because
you.
if you no, if you do that, they'll promote you more than you ever could, right? If it's all me, it'll be one of those recordings that gets lost. So do that. The other thing is always remember people are listening to it to find something that works for them.
Mm,
Early on, a client told me in a previous company, I was covering the phones at lunch. He goes, "You guys are just like Preparation H." And I thought it was an insult, right? Why are
right?
we like hemorrhoid cream? And he's like, "Oh, because you came recommended, you gave me fast relief. I'll tell everybody about this." And it struck me that, nobody cares about our product or service. What they care about is their pain in their rear end. So
Mm,
talk about the struggles, what can be done on that. And if you can define the challenge, you can also define the solution.
mm.
And then at the end of the podcast, give people a way to take the next step. None of us are good enough communicators that we can solve the world's problems in a
One
30-minute
conversation.
podcast. Right. So make it easy for them. And our studies have shown to send them to one place, give them 3 ways to say yes there. It's almost like
Mm.
talking with kids, right? Don't confuse them with find me here on LinkedIn and here on Twitter, and you can email me here. And it will lose people. Remember, people are multitasking while they're listening to you. They're not going
They're
to
on the
write everything
treadmill, they're in the
down.
car. Yeah.
So make it easy and then give them something of value there,
Mm,
right? Our testing has shown give them 3 ways to say yes, right? A
I love that.
small yes, a medium yes, and a heck yes. Meet them where they are.
I love that. You know what? If that is like not the most golden nugget, out of everything, is that you want to give your audience opportunities to say yes to you. And some of them only want to do a gentle, like, let me download that report, right? I'm not quite ready yet because they're in their own buyer's journey.
Mhm.
Or, yeah, I want to really, I want to I want to ask a few more questions, or the heck yes, I'm ready to go take my credit card now. And if you do that, you're never going to miss an opportunity, but you're giving them the choice.
Exactly. And it's not a take it or leave it, right?
Right.
Go to this landing page, the squeeze page, and give me your email address. No.
The funnel.
Right. And I'll show you at the end there how we do it. And if for no other reason you want to see what a welcome page looks like, just go check it out.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Tom, this has been really juicy. You've given us so many great ideas on the value of a podcast, of guesting, what it does for your business, how it really brings the listener, the audience closer to you in a way that they can watch at any given time and not feel like they're being sold to or marketed to, right? In a way that they can do it in the comfort of their own time and space, whether it's at the gym or Sunday morning with a cup of coffee. It's their choice that they can consume the information at their time. So I just love this. And the bonuses of how to become a guest, the how to get them into your circle. It's been a plethora, I guess, if I want to use a funny word, a plethora of information that it was just a joy to have. So where can listeners find out more about you, your book, and Interview Valet?
Yeah. And this is how most podcasts end. So this is the studies. This shows the best practice. Give them one place to go, right?
Love it.
So for us, it's go to interview valet with a v.com/profit with a plan. And on there, you're going to see everything Marcia and I talked about.
Yeah.
And there's an assessment, right? 10 questions. Will podcast interview marketing work for you? Uh, Marcia was nice enough to mention my book, Podcast Guest Profits. You can buy it on Amazon, or I'd be happy to send you a book if you're in the States. If you're outside the US, I'll email you a copy. You can
Nice.
get that at the page. And then if you'd like to talk with me or my team about how you could use this to grow your brand, to grow your business, I'll put my calendar scheduling link there. So all of that is back at interviewvalet.com/profit with a plan.
Love it. And you have to put profit with a plan, or you're going to end up having to pay for the book, right? So, yeah, I mean, use the benefit of listening. That you listen through the entire conversation to get the juicy nugget at the end. So I love it. I love that you did that. Well, Tom, for sure, this is really a valuable platform. And as a guest, I know there are a few companies out there that will charge you a production fee for being a guest. You don't have to do that. Most, if not almost all, podcasts are free for guests. All they ask is that you help promote the podcast, right? So there's a little
Yes.
time and energy and effort on it. So I would encourage you, go check out Tom's stuff. Really valuable, really helpful stuff that will help you to be able to get into the podcast guesting or hosting phase, if you like, but into the podcasting space where you can elevate your brand, talk to your ideal customers, share stuff, and market differently in a way that seems to last forever. So go get that at interviewvalet.com/profit with a plan. Love that name. All right. Listeners, I hope you found a couple of ideas or two to put into your business that will help you become more profitable. And I know Tom's information will help you do that as well. As I mentioned, if you want to supercharge your business, go download my new Profit Booster Playbook that's packed with 3 profit boosting strategies that you can take action on really quickly. And these are actionable steps that will help you make this your most profitable year ever. So go grab it for free at boostingprofit.com. And Tom and I would love to hear your questions, or tell us what type of podcast you want to be on, or have you ever been on one? Hit us up in the comments and Tom and I will respond back to you. Maybe share some ideas of other podcasts that you might be able to get on as well. While you're at it, please subscribe. We'd love to have you catch the future shows, as we're on every Tuesday. And you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Tom.